a very large thermal differential within a confined region using aerogel and heat it up, or whether we want to simply catalyze these strange configurations of carbon. Aerogel
create like a micro pressured vacuum in small parts of materials, or if you want to use it for, I mean, even just having it for like induction composite materials as well. I mean, it just as a lattice, using aerogel as a lattice for growing crystals.
What is this magic stuff you speak of? It sounds like everything I need to deal with my
It's just not quite a gas. You know what I mean?
I always wondered, would aerogel be like a good electrolyte for a form of a battery? Maybe, I don't know.
So aerogel can be used as kind of as a lattice structure for all sorts of things.
You need to pull up aerogel, so
including heavy.
Apparently, not everybody knows what it is. You've got to pull that up.
They're weird to look at. Like touching them.
Okay.
It's a hyper ultralight material, but you've dealt with aerogels kind of, if you've ever, like a dandelion is well on its way to an aerogel, you know, in the way it's designed and the way it fills up so much volume of space while still having structure. And there are amazing aerogels which can hold up pieces of steel essentially that look like about the same material or almost invisible at this point because of graphene, or even salts. They have salt-based aerogels as well, which can shatter and then they can recombine. I mean, there's a lot of different uses for them because some of them are super light, and I mean they're all super light but super weak and super degradable, and so that you can use them in a way that you can remove later. Some of them are super strong and will never break, and you can put this in between materials, use it for insulation.
Depending on the lattice crystallization structure of it.
And yeah, you can also grow crystals in it. So that's the other thing, because a lot of the time it's like a liquid crystal polymer, or, you know, again, a carbon structure or a carbon net with, you know, hydrophobic dense pores. So the top of it will often be so small, the material netting, that it looks like egg crates, and the water droplets would fall in between the egg crates because it's so small. The water droplets are bigger than the tops of any of the points, so water would roll off this material, so it can't get wet, can't absorb water. I mean, there's a lot of different kinds of aerogels, and graphene-based aerogels are becoming more and more prevalent. You can see that I mean, I don't know what your question exactly was, Thomas.
I love the idea that you said that you could use it as a lattice for like crystal formation, which would be like a really cool practical application.
Yeah, one thing I'd say is the best thing is if you were to
lattice, the low energy nuclear reaction geometric crystallization lattice of these nano superconducting layers. That's what this is to the maximum. And then is this stuff 3D printed, or
imagine
this is essentially quantum material?
You can grow this material bottom up.
I think I'm growing some of it in the jars.
There's a number of different ways to do it, but a lot of times you can use electrolysis with like an ammonium sulfate solution, add graphene and carbon.
Isn't it sort of like freeze dried in a lot of methods?
So you can use hyperchemical deprivation as well, you know, so CVD and sputtering and heat, extreme electrolysis is a big part of it. But once you make when you make your aerogel, there's so many things like after that you can decide so you can choose what material you're going to use in the same process, and that changes everything about it. And so they're thinking like, what are you going to do with material sciences? You can use aerogels in the surfboard and make an ultralight surfboard that's better than a balsa board because you have a certain amount of pressure from the air, and then it's filled at that point from the vacuum with this aerogel, which then expands, and you have a super strong, super light material, which then can hold air in pockets the way foam can. So you can have an ultralight Zeppelin, which the aerogel is just about as light as air, and then it'll hold the air better than a singular balloon would, which could pop at any point and lose air because it gets stuck inside of the foam.
Yeah, it gets distributed throughout The entire
And if
thing
the
flies
material
west.
is the material is translucent and it's coated with ammonium or ammonium and ammonium nitrate, and I forget there's another chemical that helps with this, but it'll cause heat, right? Because of the chemical reaction from the heat. So you could create a flying zeppelin that was self-powered, that's lift came from the light actually shining through and heating and activating the ammonia. And then you could maybe, like the way your sunglasses work, have a tint on it that the darker UVs aren't allowed through, and it keeps it at a certain height level. And that could be controlled by graphene as well, like the different lines allowing for the yeah.
Or you could use like electroactive polymers to like lift up flaps that expose more light or something. You can get weird.
Right. One of the things I think would be really cool to use an aerogel for is 3D printed chips, right? So once you start layering your graphene chips that you're printing, because then you're no longer shaving and 3D printing in 7 layers. Now you'd be just layer after layer at an atomics level. So you could have like a city of chips that are all stacked in the aerogel, and then they're interconnected through spacers. So that'll also make computers far more powerful, and it would essentially, they'd be wireless, so they'd just be stacked on top of each other and bungeed together inside of the aerogel.
What are we looking at here?
This is outside the window of the Apollo 11 shuttle.
No, they're at like Apollo like 500 and something by now.
Jeremiah, you are
Jeremiah's
muted if you're
playing
speaking.
again.
They're doing goddesses now.
This is some essentially oh my goodness, the Sapphire project, right?
That is a beautiful color, though.
Isn't that Jeremiah's vacuum setup?
Yeah, that's exactly the.
I wonder what the gas is in there.
It's cow farts.
Jeremiah, you're muted. We can't hear you at all.
Mic
Just realized.
Yeah, my apologies. Like, I don't want to. It's gonna echo, so my apologies.
Vega experiments, right? The Vega tubes pressurized from Martin Fleischmann Memorial Project, Bob Greenier's stuff, and then the Sapphire Project, similar stuff, right?
It was actually really interesting as it was shutting off there. You could.
Oh yeah! Wow. So those sparks, those arcs of different light coming off, that's probably transmutation of elements happening within there, right?
Look at all the colors coming off on the point there.
Red blue shift makes you wonder.
It would definitely be the EVO factors.
He needs a spectrometer so we can see what the elements are in there.
Yeah, those are very pricey though.
Oh god, we got to figure out how to do it in the smartphone app things. There we go. How someone use ChatGPT-4 to build a smartphone mass spectrometer app that everybody can use. That would revolutionize this community and world in a heartbeat.
Talking about ChatGPT, I tried to access Bard, Google Bard.
Sorry, not just ChatGPT. What's Orca? Like, Orca is supposed to be like the next level or something, or the competing one. Can anyone go into that or explain that a bit?
Isn't it Bard, Google Bard?
Orca is the Microsoft one. So it's not that different. It's kind of like a a hybridization. Like, so Microsoft worked with OpenAI. OpenAI created ChatGPT, but Microsoft was involved with that. This is Microsoft's kind of spin on OpenAI's ChatGPT 4. I mean, it's basically ChatGPT 4. It's just its own like fork. I would say it's a fork. It has different things going for it, and I'm sure it'll be more practical in some ways. But I mean, so the thing is, ChatGPT 4 is really broad, and a lot of what's going on in AI right now is narrow AI. So they're trying to figure out the same with education, right? Try to make people aware of narrowly aware of certain subjects very deeply, rather than shallow awareness of broad amounts of subjects. And so ChatGPT 4 is aware of a lot of different things, but it's not really deeply aware of them. So it's like aware, if you're like, hey, write me a recipe, it can pretend to write a recipe because it knows what recipes look like, but it doesn't really understand them. And the same thing with like law, it'll create fake court cases, etc. You can make a narrow AI that's really aware of recipes and really aware of the intricacies of how things work together, how laws, which laws actually exist, which case laws are true. That's where Orca is going to excel, is that it'll have better webhooks, better access to the internet, but it'll probably be less personable.
Jeremiah, was your equipment smoking?
Dude, kids and machines
he
need to stop
couldn't
smoking.
see because his retina's burnt out.
Every machine is a smoke machine if you push it too hard.
That's the answer right there, boys.
Could be ozoning though, or arcing different transmutations that off the EVO sections.
Hey, Jeremiah, send me your email address, or somebody who has his email address. Please send it to me. Thanks.
Exotic propulsion. Just hit me up. It's all one word.
Well, is there anything else you guys want to? What else are we trying to make sure we cover? We got about 19 minutes left. What do you guys think?
Yeah, that's a shame. Actually, we were getting the plasmatic fusion at the end of the copper electrode, but unfortunately, I am having my transformer smoking right now. So it appears that my vacuum was not sufficient.
You're not supposed to let the magic smoke out of the machine, then it won't work.
It tends to come out every single time I run this experiment. Well, then again, like I said, this is only a 700-watt transformer, and it needs to be a 1400-watt. Now, there we go. Now we have something truly miraculous on screen, and that is Adam's Begal coil.
The triple toroid Begal
coils. So this one's got what people will call a left-hand spin. So as you go away from you, it goes counterclockwise. And
that's how I
found out
do
playing with
mine.
this thing. So I figured out with my little handheld high voltage power supply here, I can hold it from either side and change the polarity on it. And I found out the fields created by the left-hand spin are electrically negative. And I can push them around and move them like that. So if I'm holding the positive end, it'll zap right to me, and I'm the sensor, and it hurts very bad. It's maybe not a great experiment, but it definitely showed me these things are negative electric charge. So I'm going to make a right-hand spin one and see if it acts like a positron. But I'm pretty sure it's going to, because this acts completely negatively, and I'm running alternating current into it. And I think this gives us some really good insight as to how an electron might actually be made as far as the internal format. Anyway, just wanted to share that with everyone.
Zapping yourself is not the ideal way of testing whether it's on, though.
Yeah, that's definitely the way to test if your heart is still on in the morning or immediately thereafter.
I know there are better sensors, but they're harder to build, and I already exist, so...
It doesn't get greener than that, right? That's the organic way is the green way.
Right, so blue shit, what is like our